I'm back for another video. My name is Josh Kasich, and today is my, technically, this is how it is. So you got the movie, and the movie is called Read or Die. And that is, R period, O period, D period. And then the TV series that comes after the movie is called is R.O.D, the TV, which actually stands for Read or Dream. So that's why I'm probably gonna have something in the title that kind of states that. It might make the title a little long, so I don't know. That's just, I'm trying to figure out what I'm actually gonna do with that. But yeah. So now essentially, what's interesting about this anime is that you know how anime are usually based off of manga. Well, it's interesting is that this anime is different. There is a manga, but these movies aren't based on the manga, but what they are actually sequels to the manga, which is a really interesting concept. Like, it was the manga, the next part of the manga is the movie, and then comes the TV series. And so the movie is, well, the movie isn't necessarily a movie per se. It's essentially it is technically a bunch of episodes put together, not like actually edited together. There are credits and stuff between each part, but it's essentially just put together in one thing. And it follows this character named Yomiko Readman, and she loves books, obviously, and she's a paper master. And what paper masters do is that they can control paper, like literally do anything with paper. They could make it solid, and to block bullets and cut people or cut things. They can make pretty much anything out of paper. It's really interesting power that you normally wouldn't even think about normally when you think about power. So that's pretty interesting concept. Now, she actually works for an agency. They're a special force under the English Library, and now the English Library is run by this guy named Mr. Gentleman, who's supposedly supposed to be Merlin, and his person right under him is his name is the Joker, and the Joker's assistant is named Wendy. Now, Joker runs this special force, and Yamiko works for this force, and her agent name is Agent Paper, because she's paper master. It's a little ham-handed, but it's okay. But it's really like interesting story, and essentially what they're doing is that they're trying to save books that are being taken by these kind of evil. Well, essentially we find out later in the show who these people really are. But apparently some company has basically brought ancient people, well, not just people from the past, back to life, because somehow there is a geno file, which basically a file that has a bunch of genos from people from the past. So they took those DNA and recreate them into people. It's really weird because how did you get the genome for all these past people? I mean, I would think it would be impossible, but whatever. It's interesting. I give them that at least. But they basically brought back a bunch of ancient people, and it's like I said, it's a really interesting concept. And they're the villains, and they've been stealing books and stuff, and it kind of climaxes to the end One of the agents that the paper gets assigned to work with is a girl named Nancy, who has the ability to go through walls or go through anything really, like even the floor. I wonder how she controls not, I don't know, falling down to all the way to the core and like basically die. So it's kind of weird, but yeah. Other than that, it's really interesting. And then another character named Drake. And Drake, on the other hand, he's just a normal guy. Doesn't have any powers, but he's good with guns and stuff. And we find out that actually, Nancy is actually one of these people, and she's actually a traitor. Well, she's actually a traitor to both sides. Originally, was working undercover in the working undercover in the this special force under the English Library in order to spy on them, right? But she kind of then betrays the other group, and then but her secret gets out and she has to leave or whatever, and then they go attack the base with all these guys or whatever, and it's really they are able to defeat them, but Yamiko gets captured and is about to be killed by one of the leader of these people brought back to life, and apparently Nancy and this leader here were actually lovers. Apparently, not in the past, but when they were brought back, apparently they're lovers, and we don't find out until the show that they actually made love and she is pregnant. We didn't find out that, but we thought the guy in charge knew of Nancy's betrayal and cloned her, and we assume that the clone killed Nancy, but we find out later in the movie that she's not dead. But Yamiko is able to get free. I forgot how, but it's really interesting. They get out, they join with Nancy and Drake. Nancy battles the clone and kills the clone, and then they kill all the rest with the help of Drake. They kill all the people on this. Now they're on this base that has like a missile. Like the leader is going to launch the missile, and I think it's nuclear. I think it's nuclear. It was a nuclear warhead, and it was going to destroy. I think they're going to try to destroy the world or whatever, and so that it would just be them or whatever. I think, if I recall, I don't know exactly what his plans were for that, but that's what I assume it was. And but yeah, they were able to stop them, and Nancy kills her lover, and then they kill and then Yamiko or Drake already gets out, and Yamiko is was going to take Nancy, and they were going to jump out, and she was going to use the paper stuff so she could fly. Unfortunately, she decides to stay back with her lover and die with him or whatever. Apparently, and then we find out later at the end she didn't die, but she got severely brain damaged to the point where she doesn't remember who she is. And she does make a cameo in the show, or not really a cameo. She actually plays a major part in the show, and when she realized that she not only doesn't remember, but she was with Yamiko, and Yamiko tries to help her or whatever, and she kind of takes this kind of childish kind of personality, probably subsequent because of the brain damage. So that's kind of the movie part, and then the TV show is not really about Yamiko. It takes like 5 years after this movie, and a lot of things are weird. Apparently, Mr. Gentleman is dead. The English Library is destroyed. The entire British Empire, as they call it, was no more. And you have these three sisters who are also paper masters, and they're not actual blood related, but they decided to become sisters, and they have very interesting backstory that was revealed over time, and their goal is to protect this writer named Nenene, who's actually a friend of Yomiko, who's been trying to find Yomiko after she disappeared. And we really understand why they disappeared, or her and Nancy, because she was with Nancy. We eventually figure out why, and we figure out what happened to the British Empire and what happened to the English library and everything. And it's really interesting, and it makes, now Joker was on the good side, but now Joker's actually the main villain of this series. And his goal is to bring back the gentleman inside of Nancy's child, and we figure out what, like I said, we figure out what these people are. Apparently, Mr. Gentleman was dying, and their whole goal was to bring back these genome people, bring these people back to life, in order so that they can, because when they're brought back, they get powers. Like Nancy is, she had the power to go through walls, and she's actually supposed to be a Makuhari. If you don't know that story of the character of that person, she basically was just like I think like a dancer or whatever, but and she was convicted of working for the Germans and was like executed. But so she was brought back. That's what Nancy is. So I forgot to mention that part, but it was interesting. But yeah, pretty much everyone who's brought back have some sort of power. So that was kind of the interesting. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, so they were going to bring back the gentleman and these genomes, but this evil corporation called Densha, I think I'm pronouncing that right, tries to took the genomes and actually brought them back to life, and that's why they were bad guys. And it was originally it's a very interesting idea, and so the whole goal from the very beginning is that Joker was trying to figure out a way to bring back Mr. Gentleman, or like Mr. Gentleman was dying, so the plot was always to try to find a way to keep Mr. Gentleman alive. And Junior is Nancy's son, and since he is a child of two of these brought back people, he's even more stronger of a candidate. But he was actually stolen by Nancy, and they aged him up to be like 13 years old, because he's only technically been alive for 6 years, but he's like 13 years old in the show. He's about the same age as Anita King, who is one of the sisters. Now this show is mainly about the sisters. You got Anita, and you got Maggie, who's 20, and you got Michelle, who is 25. And they're all paper masters. Like I said, they control paper, but we found out they're actually artificial. Well, Anita is artificial in that she was actually created in a lab. Well, Michelle and Maggie were actually just normal people that were spliced with the paper power. So, yeah, it was very interesting. It's a really interesting show where they have to save Junior, stop the Joker, and his plans to unite the entire world, like brainwash everyone, get rid of their memories to give them brand new memories and stuff. And it's really wow, Joker was a good guy in the first one, and now he's like a right out villain in this one. It's really interesting, and I really do I think it was definitely a lot of how the writing stuff connects. Like, this show just connects so much that it's so intriguing. I think it definitely has a really well-written story. I am not a reader, although I am a writer, which is really interesting, and I'm going to become a director. I don't like reading that much. I've always been more of a math person myself, and so I don't really relate to the show in a way or sense the characters, because the characters love books so much. I just don't have that same concept. It's definitely more of a show for my dad. We watched it because he owns the series, and it's definitely more of his cup of tea. But I definitely enjoyed the action, the characters, and the writing. And even though I'm not a huge fan of reading, I did enjoy this series, and I definitely would recommend this show to you or to everyone. Everyone should definitely watch this show because I think it's really interesting, like idea behind behind it, and like I said, the characters are good, the writing is really good, and that's pretty much all my thoughts on it. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like. If you are new, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified for my next upload. My YouTube channel, website link, my Twitter, my Snapchat, and Instagram are all in the description as always. And thank you. Goodbye.